What he saw was contrary to his own pure intentions to ordain solely for the realization of Magga and Phala. After considering the matter over and over very carefully, he decided to leave the relative security of the monastery to pursue the wandering lifestyle of a Dhutanga monk. He then made his decision known to the abbot and his family and friends. Entering the Dhutanga path. Before leaving his village to practice Kammartana, Ajaan Khao received nothing but discouragement from practically everybody he met, both lay people and bhikkhus alike. All of them said that nowadays it was impossible to attain the path, fruition, and nibbana, that the era was long past when this could be done, that however rightly and properly one were to practice the way of the Dhamma and Vinaya, one would not be able to attain the desired results and reach the goal, that the practice of meditation makes people mad, so whoever wants to go mad should practice it, that if one aspires to be a good person in society, one should not drive oneself mad by going the way of Kammartana, that in this age there are no Dhutanga Kammartana bhikkhus, except for those who sell magic yantras, mantras, lockets which have magic properties, magic potions for influencing others, ways of making people impervious to bullets and knives, knowledge of auspicious times and astrology. They assured him that as far as finding Dhutanga Kammartana bhikkhus who actually practiced the way of Dhutanga, there were none left nowadays, so he must not waste his time and tire himself to no purpose, for to get to a state of ease and happiness in that way was impossible. These were some of the many obstacles which blocked the path of those who wanted to practice the way of the Dhutangas in those days. But Venerable Ajaan Khao was not prepared to listen to any of them, although he did not object or argue with them, for it would not have been useful to either side. But deep within himself he considered that these people are not the owners of the Buddhist religion. They are not the owners of the path, fruition, and nibbana, nor have they any power to make anyone else go mad, so why should I believe what they say? I have faith only in the Lord Buddha, in the Dhamma, and in the Sangha of Savaka Arahants as being truly worthy within the triple world. Those who spoke trying to persuade me to stop, so that I would not go the way of Kammartana and practice its various methods, are not those who are truly worthy at all. Just by looking at the behavior and manners they display, one can know whether they are truly wise or simply foolish, and generally what their characters are like. Their objections in wanting to stop me are things which would be a waste of time for me to even consider, so I must now go away to practice the way of Kammartana as soon as I can without considering anything else. I must search for true things which accord with the basic principles of Dhamma that have been handed down to us. I must strive in this way until I reach the absolute limit of my strength and ability. If I should chance to die in the process, then I willingly give my life and entrust myself to the Supreme Dhamma. As he prepared to set out on his Dhutanga wanderings, all his fellow bhikkhus and many lay people gathered in the monastery to see him off. Just before he left, he spoke truthfully from his heart to those who had tried to stop him, so as to leave no doubt about his intentions, saying, "When I have gone from here, unless I can teach myself to attain the ultimate level of Citta and Dhamma, I shall not return to show my face amongst you again. I am ready to die for the sake of realizing the true nature of Dhamma with clarity and insight, but not for anything else. Please remember what I have said, just in case I have the right characteristics that enable me to return and meet you again. The only likelihood of my meeting you again will be if I realize the true nature of Dhamma with clarity and absolute certainty." He said this at a time when many people were gathered there, both highly respected bhikkhus and the lay people from his village who had faith in them as being very wise and learned monks, and all of them tried to stop him from going away. He remembered, "At that time, my heart seemed so strong it could crush a diamond to powder in an instant. It seemed as if I could leap into the sky and walk about up there for all of them to see. This was probably due to pride and high spirits in my heart, as though it were shining forth brightly for all those people to see, telling them, "See here, the diamond radiance in this heart, can't you see it? Are you all stupid enough to disparage me, saying that I will go mad by delving into strange things? My heart is not in the same sphere as all of yours, such that you can gather it up into your clan to die worthlessly in the way a dog dies. I am not prepared to die in the way that all of you would lead me towards death right now, for I intend to die in the way that the Lord Buddha taught us, by not leaving any seed of becoming remaining whatsoever. I have already died in your way so many countless times that it is impossible to tell in how many cemeteries I have ended my days. But although I may not be able to know this with my own higher knowing faculty, I have faith in the Lord Buddha and his teaching, for his higher knowing faculty was supreme and unequaled." As soon as he was ready, he said farewell, and took his leave of all the bhikkhus and learned people, and walked away through a large crowd of lay followers. He then set out for Thut Phanom on foot, through thick forests and jungles, following paths worn by people and buffalo carts. For in those days there were no roads, not even the roughest dirt roads, but only footpaths. Many types of wild animals inhabited the forests. Large numbers of elephants and tigers roamed everywhere, since there were no villages and not as many people about as there are nowadays. Those forests were the original virgin forests, so there was a real danger that if one became lost, one would have no food and might die in the forest. Often a person could walk all day without meeting anyone or seeing any sign of habitation. Venerable Ajaan Khao walked through thick forests until he reached Thut Phanom. He wanted to find Venerable Ajaan Mun and study the way of practice with him. Ajaan Khao knew of Ajaan Mun's peerless reputation and was determined to seek him out. He had heard that Ajaan Mun and Ajaan Sa were staying at Tha Boa in Nong Khai province, so from Thut Phanom he set out walking to Nong Khai, a distance of some 270 miles. Wandering by stages, he reached Nong Khai in several months and went to see Ajaan Mun. He related, "I was only able to spend a short time training with him before he went away and disappeared into silence. Then I felt a sense of hopelessness for a while, because I had no teacher to teach and guide me. Several years later, I heard that Venerable Ajaan Mun had gone to stay and practice the way in the Chiang Mai area, so I set out to follow him by wandering in the Dhutanga Gammartana way, going along the bank of the Mekong River until I reached the province of Chiang Mai. Then I wandered about in the various districts of Chiang Mai with peace and happiness." The places where Ajaan Khao stayed and practiced were deep in the forests and hills, and far away from any villages. At that time, Venerable Ajaan Mun was also wandering about in the same area, but it was not easy to find him, because he always liked to wander alone, away from his colleagues, and he would not readily allow others to meet him. Ajaan Khao continued following him relentlessly, without success, for about a year, until he finally gave up hope of ever finding Ajaan Mun, and began walking back toward the northeast region. He walked as far as Lambang, where he met Ajaan Wan, whom he had known previously. Ajaan Wan said that he knew where to find Ajaan Mun, so they decided to go together in search of him. They eventually found him at Wat Ba Myang Hue Sai in the Prao district of Chiang Mai province. Ajaan Mun preferred to live alone, so Ajaan Khao and Ajaan Wan camped in the mountains nearby and came often to get instructions from him. When the Vassa period approached, he insisted that Ajaan Khao and Ajaan Wan find another monastery to spend the retreat, because the villagers supporting Ajaan Mun's retreat were poor and could not afford to support many monks. Ajaan Khao said that he always tried to stay close by Venerable Ajaan Mun so that he could go to see him and learn from him when it was necessary. Whenever he approached Ajaan Mun to seek his advice about an aspect of Dhamma, his teacher always had compassion for him and taught him to the utmost of his ability without holding back or hiding anything. but he would never let anybody stay with him. Still, Ajaan Khao said that he was quite content that Ajaan Mun had compassion for him and taught him at those times when it was necessary to go and ask him questions. Once he had cleared up his problems, he paid his respects and left Ajaan Mun to live alone, putting into practice what he had learnt. In this manner, he travelled back and forth quite often. After living like this for several years, Venerable Ajaan Mun very kindly let him stay with him for the Vassa period. Ajaan Khao was so glad and so happy when Venerable Ajaan Mun told him the news that he felt as if he could float in the air, for after trying for so many years he had at last succeeded. From then on he stayed regularly with Ajaan Mun during the Vassa. The practice and development of Ajaan Khao's Citta Bhavana meditation steadily gained strength after he went to stay in the Chiang Mai region. With a skilled teacher to guide and teach him continually, his heart seemed as though it were about to leap into the sky, so strong was his happiness and contentment in the Dhamma that arose in his heart. No longer was there any unease or sadness due to his practice being up and down, sometimes progressing and sometimes declining, as happened when he was staying in other places. From day to day his heart steadily progressed, both in samadhi and in wisdom, and he became engrossed in striving day and night without ever becoming satiated.